There are moments in life that split everything into a before and an after. One ordinary evening. One phone screen. One name you were not supposed to see. And just like that, the person you trusted most in the world becomes someone you are not sure you ever really knew. My name is Daniel. And what I am about to tell you is the story of the night I picked up my girlfriend's phone to turn off an alarm, and found a telegram conversation that changed everything. This is not a story about revenge. This is not a story about drama. This is a story about trust, about the lies we tell ourselves when we love someone, and about what you do when the truth finally refuses to stay hidden. Stay with me. Because if you have ever been in a relationship where something felt just slightly off, just slightly wrong, but you could never put your finger on it, then this story is for you. Sarah and I had been together for 2 years. 2 years does not sound like a long time when you say it out loud. But when you are living inside it, when you have built a routine, a shared life, shared inside jokes, shared plans for the future, 2 years feels like everything. We met at a mutual friend's birthday dinner. She was sitting across the table from me, laughing at something someone had said, and I remember thinking I want to be the reason she laughs like that. By the end of the night we had exchanged numbers. By the end of the week we had our first date. By the end of the month, we both knew this was something serious. She was kind. She was funny. She remembered small things, the kind of things most people forget. If I mentioned once that I liked a particular coffee, she would remember it 3 months later. If I had a stressful day coming up, she would text me in the morning without being asked. She made me feel seen. And that is a rare thing. We moved in together after about 14 months. Her idea, though I had been thinking about it for weeks already. Our apartment was small but it felt like ours. We painted the living room together on a Saturday afternoon and argued about the shade of gray for 2 hours and then laughed about it for weeks. I was happy. Genuinely, completely happy. And then, slowly, almost imperceptibly, something began to change. It started small. The way these things always do. She became quieter in the evenings. Not cold, not distant exactly, just somewhere else in her mind. I would talk to her and there would be a half-second delay before she responded, like she was returning from somewhere far away. Her phone became something she held differently. Before, she would leave it on the kitchen counter, face up, not thinking about it. Now it was always face down. Always nearby. Always something she reached for the moment a notification came in. I told myself I was imagining it. That I was being paranoid. That relationships go through quiet phases and this was just one of those. I told myself that for about 6 weeks. There was one evening when she got up from the sofa to make tea and left her phone on the cushion next to me. It buzzed. I did not look. But I saw the name that appeared on the screen before it went dark. Marcus. I did not recognize the name. I did not ask about it. But I did not forget it either. The name sat in the back of my mind like a splinter you cannot quite reach. Small enough to ignore. Impossible to forget. It was a Tuesday. She had gone to bed early, said she had a headache. I stayed up watching something on television, nothing in particular, just noise to fill the room. Around midnight, her phone buzzed on the coffee table. Then again. Then a third time. I looked at it. 3 messages. All from the same contact. I told myself I was just going to turn the screen off. I told myself I was not going to read anything. I picked up the phone just to stop the buzzing from waking her. And then I saw the telegram icon. and the name at the top of the notification. Marcus. I want to be very clear about something. I have never been the kind of person who goes through their partner's phone. I believe in privacy. I believe in trust. I had never once, in 2 years, looked through her messages. But something in that moment made me stop. Maybe it was the 6 weeks of something feeling off. Maybe it was the way she had been holding her phone. Maybe it was just the way the universe sometimes puts exactly what you need to see directly in front of you, whether you are ready or not. I opened Telegram. And I started reading. The conversation went back 4 months. 4 months. That meant it had started about 2 months after we moved in together. In the beginning it seemed innocent. Catching up, the way old friends do. How are you? How has life been? I heard you moved, that kind of thing. But it did not stay that way. Within a few weeks the messages had shifted. He was telling her he had never stopped thinking about her. She was telling him that things in her life felt complicated. He was asking to meet up. She was not saying no. I kept reading. There was a message from her, about 2 months in, that said, I know this is wrong. I know I should not be doing this. But talking to you feels like breathing again. I read that line 3 times. Talking to you feels like breathing again. I had been living with this woman. Sleeping next to her. Making plans with her. And somewhere in those same weeks she had been telling someone else that he made her feel like she could breathe. There was no evidence of anything physical. I want to be honest about that. But there was something in those messages that felt, in some ways, more painful than that. Because it was not just flirting. It was not just boredom. She was telling him things she was not telling me. She was sharing parts of herself with him that I thought were mine. She had told him she was unhappy. She had told him she felt lost. She had told him she missed who she used to be before the relationship. She had not told me any of that. I put the phone down. I sat there in the dark living room, in the apartment we had painted together, and I did not move for a very long time. I did not wake her up that night. I thought about it. But I knew that whatever I was feeling in that moment, I was not in the right state to have a conversation that needed to be handled carefully. I slept on the sofa. I do not think I actually slept. In the morning she came out of the bedroom and found me sitting at the kitchen table with 2 cups of coffee already made. She looked at me and I think she knew immediately that something had happened. There are some expressions that do not need explanation. She sat down. She wrapped her hands around the mug. She did not say anything. I told her what I had found. Calmly. Without shouting. Without accusation in my voice, though I will not pretend there was none in my chest. She did not deny it. She did not make excuses. She just sat there, and for a long moment she looked at the table, and then she looked at me. And she said, I am so sorry. I did not know how to tell you. We talked for almost 3 hours. The kind of talking that only happens when there is nothing left to protect. She told me she had been feeling disconnected for months. She told me she did not know how to bring it up without hurting me. She told me talking to Marcus had been a way of feeling something familiar at a time when she felt confused. She told me she did not want to lose me. I listened to all of it. And then I told her the truth in return. That what hurt most was not the messages. It was that she had not trusted me enough to tell me she was struggling. That I would rather have had 100 difficult conversations than find out she had been suffering in silence while smiling at me across the dinner table. We cried. Both of us. The kind of crying that comes from somewhere real. What came next was not simple. I want to be honest about that. We did not immediately fall back into what we were. We could not. Something had been broken, and broken things do not fix themselves overnight just because both people want them to. We went to couples counseling. That was her suggestion, and I agreed. Not because I was certain it would work, but because I thought we owed it to 2 years of something real to at least try. It was hard. Counseling is not a magic solution. It is just a place where you are forced to say the things you have been avoiding. Some of those things are painful to hear. Some of them are painful to say. But there is something valuable in being forced to sit in a room and actually speak, rather than carrying everything quietly until it becomes something you find on a phone screen at midnight. I am not going to tell you how the story ends in a neat bow. Real life does not work that way. What I will tell you is this: the conversation we had that morning, the one that started because of a Telegram chat I should never have had to find, was the most honest conversation we had ever had. And there was something in that honesty, as painful as it was, that felt more like real love than a lot of what had come before it. Sometimes the thing that nearly ends something is also the thing that finally makes it real. If there is anything I want you to take from this, it is not about going through your partner's phone. It is not about catching people out. It is about this: the things we do not say have a way of surfacing eventually. The feelings we hide to protect someone, or to protect ourselves, do not disappear. They find other places to go. And if you are in a relationship right now where something feels slightly off, where there is a distance you cannot explain, where you are both being kind to each other but not quite honest, I want you to ask yourself what conversation you have been putting off. Because whatever it is easier to have it now than to find it later in a way neither of you chose. My name is Daniel. And this is my story. If it resonated with you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And if you have your own story, I would genuinely love to hear it in the comments. Take care of each other. And take care of yourself.